mom came into the room and she's like, "Look at my phone," and then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, "Oh,
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27, and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
yeah." And I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year, and they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. That's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. Today we're going to be talking about free agency and the man with a new Twitter account or a new Twitter name, Austin. It's Agent Denny, I believe.
It is. I felt like if I still wanted to be like a Wizards page, having it the Real Bill Meal deal was not advantageous. So I didn't want to create any confusion. I still love that name, and it's one that I came up in theology class because I was bored sophomore year. So I still love that name, and I'm still gonna hold it near and dear to my heart. But I feel like I had to choose a new Wizards player to represent the account.
And yeah, we've talked about the Chris Paul. We're just going to talk about free agency. I do have a question, but I'll ask you later. You didn't want to do anything with Jordan Poole or Kuzma?
Uh,
for the Wizards, like I'm talking about, like name wise.
Oh no, I want to do someone that I believe.
I want in DC.
No, I think that's probably a good name, but I don't know how long Poole stays, and I want to do a player like Denny who we drafted. I was only really deciding between 2 players, and I was Corey Kispert or Denny because those are 2 players that are young, drafted by the Wizards, and that I do see in the Wizards' future that we're not going to trade away. Those are 2 players I'm very high on. So I wanted to choose someone that I believe would be on the team long term. And I don't, even though Kuzma signed an extension, I didn't know if he was going to stay per se. And then for Poole, I definitely don't know if he's going to stay.
And his contract will probably get better as the year goes on. But I'm looking at Kuzma's. Okay, so the average salary is only like $25 million. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not
bad.
I like their signing.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think it's just gonna be a fun team because it's Jordan Poole and Kuzma, and they also have like some young guys as you were talking about. But yeah, I do have a question. But has anything gone on Twitter that I've missed? I quit. I got mad at Twitter, so I deleted it.
I mean, the rate limit exceeded thing isn't there anymore, so that's fixed.
Oh, really? Okay.
But
that got me frustrated.
I understand, but not anything going on as we speak.
Okay. Okay, so I know there's that Paul Reed thing, but the next thing that I thought was interesting was okay, let me ask you this question. I want you to guess the teams that I have 3 teams. 1 team I think got better, and they could be in competition for the playoffs in the East. And then the next 2 teams, one I believe became a contender or solidified themselves as a contender, and the other team I think is now competent and should be a playoff team.
You want me to guess the teams you're talking about?
Yes. Okay.
And this was a trade or between 2 teams?
Just like what they did in free agency. What they did in free agency. One West team, I believe, solidified themselves as a contender. The other West team, I believe, made good moves and most likely will be a playoff team. The other team, I think, got better and should be near playoff contention in the East.
So one is playoff contender, one is like finals contender?
Finals contender.
Both in the West.
Both in the West. And then one's in the East.
Oh, so there's 3 teams. So one's
3 teams. 2 in the
Okay.
one's a finals contender. The other one, I believe, is playoffs. Then the third is, I think they'll be in that middling range where they're close to playoffs.
And the middling team is the East team or no? Is it
the East team? Yeah.
okay?
I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs, but I could also see them missing the playoffs.
Okay. For the East, I'm gonna say the Pacers. That's gonna be
You are
my
correct.
guess.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Pacers. I wasn't a huge fan of that Bruce Brown deal because it seemed like a lot, but also that's how they got him to Indiana, in my opinion. By
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
him.
I think the Pacers could make the playoffs. They we'll have to see any other moves they make, any other trades, but come uh come September when we do our actual NBA predictions, season predictions, I there's a solid chance I have them making the playoffs.
Yeah. I'll definitely have them close in that area. And yeah, I liked Bruce Brown signing. I know they got Obi Toppin in that trade. So yeah, they could be fun. They're definitely gonna be a fun team.
Yeah. Okay. For playoff contender West. I mean, I think one of these two teams is the Mavs. I think one of the two teams is the Mavs.
Okay.
I'm trying to think whether you think of them as a finals contender. Because I do not. But so I'm just gonna say playoff contender Mavs.
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, I don't know what the Mavs could do that could make them a title contender, in my opinion.
I mean, unless LeBron wants to come to Dallas.
Or well, yeah, or like maybe if they got Jared Allen, maybe that entices me to put him, but I still wouldn't put him there because the Mavs have a question at center. But I really like the Grant Williams trade. I liked what they tried to do with Thibault, but I'm like, yeah, I understand why Portland matched it.
I thought Portland would match it.
But like, and especially that's a nice deal for Portland. Like he's only like 11 million a year.
Yeah. And he's one of the premier perimeter defenders in the league. So I thought they would match, even though it is a little bit of a poison pill. And there's a trade kicker and all that other stuff. But I thought Portland would bring him back. I know some of our friends thought otherwise, but
yeah, I know. And then Dwight being back is a good signing. One of our friends, I was laughing when he's like, "Man, dude, it's a canon event that Dwight Powell is with the Mavericks."
yeah, most certainly. And this one friend we're talking about, this canon event, is hating him and loving him at different times. He's either
he does what I do to Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
Like, I'll hate Jason Kidd, and he hates Dwight Powell, and then I'll love Jason, or I'll respect Jason Kidd. But yeah, Nico made some really good moves, but to me now they fix a lot of issues. I'm curious what they do with center because I don't think they can have Tim Hardaway, Seth Curry, and Hardy on the same team, all because they're a little bit too much like each other.
Yeah. For West contender, it's not going to be Nuggets. It's not going to be Grizzlies. I don't think it would be Kings. It's definitely not Suns because they were already contenders.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Clippers. I'm gonna go Warriors. I think you're thinking.
No.
Is it Lakers then?
Yeah, it's Lakers. Yeah.
What did the Lakers do that really crossed the bar?
I think so. You have LeBron and AD. This is with AD healthy, but man, dude, they got Austin Reeves on not a too bad of contract, in my opinion. It's only like 14 million per year. They brought back Rui Hachimura. They brought back D'Angelo Russell. They also like kept Jared Vanderbilt. They added Gabe Vincent. They have Jalen Hood Schifino, nice point guard. They also got Jackson Hayes. I know he has some off the court problems, or there were some allegations, but he's a nice young player. To me, it's the role players that make it. I think they have a lot more depth. They also got Taurean Prince, and they added Cam Reddish, who he's someone where I think if he just does a little bit more on defense, he could be a nice piece. But I really like what they did, like adding Gabe Vincent, and they really didn't break the bank Like they kept Austin Reeves, who I think is a nice shooting guard. They kept Russell, who I think is a good point guard. They added um, Gabe Vincent, which I think is a nice signing, and not for too much. But yeah, so it's mainly the role players that they added.
Okay, I don't know if the Lakers necessarily did enough. This team isn't that different, if you know what I mean. Because D'Lo struggled last year in the playoffs, and I would assume that he would still have a significant role in the team. And I do like the Reeves signing, but now you're paying him more. So I don't know if that necessarily helps you. When last year he was on the team playing well, and he still could play well. I don't know how much better he plays. I think he improved slightly, but not necessarily anything outstanding. And then trusting rookies like Coach Schifino, I do like that pick for them. They do need a point guard for the future, but does he really make a big impact as a rookie? LeBron usually doesn't have many rookies playing significant roles on good teams. I mean, he had Reeves, but that year they missed the playoffs, I'm pretty sure, correct?
Yeah. But what do you think about Gabe Vincent?
They have too many players playing point guard. Like, okay. Is D'Lo playing point guard? He has to. Hujafino, Gabe Vincent, and then I know Reeves is technically a shooting guard, but he's on the shorter end of that spectrum. And I do like Gabe Vincent. I do like that signing. I do think the Heat were, for some reason, undercutting him. I know the point is that they're going to try to get Dame. I feel like that's why they offered him so little.
Yeah.
But Vincent's role is going to be much different on this Lakers team. I don't know if he starts. And if he doesn't start, does that anger D'Lo? I just, that combination, I don't know if it works. Because I believe Gabe Vincent deserves to start. But that could cause problems in either the locker room or on the court with D'Lo in that second unit.
Yeah. Okay, so you don't think D'Lo starts?
I think he does start.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he deserves to start. Vincent was a very great playoff performer last year on a Heat team that many did not see making it out of the first round, let alone all the way to the finals. And
Jalen Hood-Schifino, I don't think he has major minutes, but I think that's a guy like they can just have in the regular season and more in the future. But like he's kind of the third point guard.
Yeah, and I mean Gabe Vincent didn't even average 10 points last year, and he struggled during the regular season. But in the playoffs, him averaging 13 points per game is, I believe, more than D'Angelo Russell did. I will check to fact check that. Barely. It was 0.6 more, 13.3. But he shot 31% from three. And while I do think D'Lo is a better player, at least for the regular season, like he averaged 17.8 points last season, he's a underrated facilitator. He's a good shooter. But I don't know if Gabe Vincent necessarily sees his best role off of the bench. Gabe Vincent, when he starts, I believe is a much better player than when he comes off the bench. And maybe that's just because of minutes, but I also think he hits big shots and he makes very impactful plays that I think would be useful to the Lakers.
Yeah, so I think he's useful. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. And then, so I really like that. But the thing is, AD has to be healthy. Jackson Hayes, I think, is a good backup center. I really like his upside, but I know he has off the court issues.
Yeah, I mean, in the playoffs, not last year, but the year before that, Jackson Hayes got ejected in Game 6 of a series that I thought they had a chance of winning because of injury. He only played 13 minutes a game last year, averaged 5 points. I don't think anything special about him. I don't see any difference between him and Bamba except that he can't shoot threes, Hayes can, and Bamba can. I just feel like both of those guys should probably have been better. Both of those guys went to Texas. It just seems like they're replicas of players that should be better but aren't, and aren't going to make all that big of an impact come playoff time.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and then how do you feel about the Rockets paying Fred VanVleet? I've kind of warmed up to it now.
He's the highest paid player out of free agency thus far, and I don't necessarily think he's all that great. I maybe that's a system thing. I was extremely down on Nick Nurse as a head coach, but last year shooting under 40% from the field, he's done that 3 times in his career. Once as a rookie, once in 2021, and once in 22-23, which was this year, and it just seemed like he was a shot chucker. This year, he shot 34% from three on 8.8 attempts from three. He is a good free throw shooter. I do think he's an underrated passer. But in the playoffs, not obviously they didn't make it this year, but last year they got swept, I believe. Oh no, they lost in six. That's right. But he played 4 games and shot 35% from three. He shoots under 40% from the field for his entire career in the playoffs. So I just don't know if I trust him per se as a go-to guy. If he's a primary facilitator and they use Jalen Green and Şengün as your top 2 primary offensive guys, I think I like this team much more. I think I like the signing more because Fred is a veteran who's obviously won a championship. He's been an all-star. But I don't think he should be much more than a facilitator that maybe averages 15 points a game, who doesn't take as many shots as Green at least. And I do think this kind of contradicts having some of the players that they already had on their team. Like, while it may still work with Green because Green can play shooting guard, he's played shooting guard thus far in his career, but also they have Kevin Porter Jr. and Porter averaged 19, 6, and 5 last year on better splits. So averaging the same amount of points, better splits. I understand it's on a worse team. I don't know where he fits, and I'm still higher right now on the potential of Porter Jr. as a passer and as a young player who's only just turned 23 for this team. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, yeah. So I'll kind of tell you what I warmed up to. It's a really large contract. It's really a lot. It's a lot more money than I would have paid to Van Fleet. But given the Rockets' positions where they needed vets, and what I thought would be fair for Van Fleet is around the Jalen Brunson contract, just because like it's the following year, he probably gets something similar to it. Because I like Fred Van Fleet. I think he's a really good player. I just really like him as a point guard. I think he can shoot well, but like you mentioned, shooting. But to me, what really reminds when I thought like Fred Van Fleet was the best was when Kawhi was on the team, Kyle Lowry was on the team, which, to your point, like you talked about Şengün and Jalen Green being the main point scorers. I went to that 2018-2019 roster, and like to me, the number one option was Kawhi Leonard, then Kyle Lowry, then the third I think was Siakam, but I also thought the fourth was Fred Van Fleet. I think he was the first guy off the bench. So if he can kind of be that third or fourth guy, I think that would help while also giving leadership. So if for the Rockets to get him, they had to pay him a much larger amount to convince him to come there. So that's why I'm warmer. I'm like, I think he's a good player, and I think he will help your team in the locker room, because that's what I think the Rockets struggled with last year. I wouldn't have paid him $43 million. I probably would have gone to 26 or 28. But for the Rockets, it also helps them meet that cap floor. The thing that I do not like about the Rockets is giving $20 million to Dillon Brooks and putting him into that type of locker room.
I understand that. I do feel like Brooks as a defensive player, which is something that the Rockets were horrible at last year, is a good improvement.
Okay.
Fred is a bad defender, and they already have a lot of lackluster defenders on their team. So I understand the signing, sort of. It's just the money value that kind of concerns me.
Gotcha. Yeah. I kind of view it as like Rangers, like, we're going to pay you a bunch more than whatever other people are offering you.
Yeah.
For like Seager Simeon. but it is different with the NBA and MLB. So but the thing, it's just Dylan. I would have loved to sign Dylan Brooks because, like you mentioned, his defense. I just don't. I want him in like a more determined role in the locker room, if that makes sense. The chemistry type. Like if he went to like maybe the Warriors or maybe the Heat, like I feel his personality would have done better than what it could do in the Rockets. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. It's just I believe wanted to start, and he'll get to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And his personality, yeah, it's gonna rub off probably the wrong way. And they already have a number of weird personalities on the Rockets, and it either looks good next year, maybe not playoffs, but looks good. Like, hey, the team is growing, or it's going to blow up. Like, there's no middle ground here. It is either going to look like they made an improvement, or the team morale wise is completely destroyed and they ruin the rebuild. Because Brooks' personality really could hurt the team, or it could help them have an edge and win games maybe they shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. And then let's kind of go into like what else could happen because I don't think there are any other major moves that I missed, right?
Unless you want to talk about Kyrie resigning.
Oh yeah, I like that contract. I thought it was gonna be 4 years.
Yeah, I like it too. Do you think he stays with the Mavs for the entirety of the 3 years?
No, but that's what I think. It's a tradable contract too. So, so I really like that, and it's not too bad. They kept their full MLE, which I like. Which I don't know who they use it on, but I kind of want to talk about trades. And there's one free agent that I'm interested. Oh, the Bulls were weird to me. Like they signed Javon Carter, and I was like, why not just re-sign Io? Which I feel like Io is going to go to the Nuggets.
That would be dangerous.
Because, like, I was talking about someone, they're like, man, dude, like, the Nuggets lost Bruce Brown. I'm like, if the Nuggets are going to pick up someone, it's not going to be the same type of player, but it's going to be the same type of effect. Some dude where we're like, man, how did they pick him up like that? And he's so good. I feel that could be Io because people are going to be like, why was Io on the market for so long? But that's
what do
just
you think he
something- I
gets
also wanna
signed
get into
for?
trades, huh?
What do you think he gets signed
I've heard
for?
like maybe 7 or 8 million, or maybe he takes a cheaper contract.
Yeah, I think he could take a cheaper contract to go to a championship team. So, but you want to talk about some trades?
Yeah, so there's like we can talk about IO later on if you would like, but it's kind of like I don't know what else happens. There's a lot of trades, and I think it's holding up because of the Harden deal, which like tricked me. I'm like, oh, he's going back to Sixers. Then he's getting traded. I'm like, okay. So I do think he goes up to the Clippers. But the thing with the Heat and Trailblazers is what Dame, it would work great for the Heat. It's just their main chip is Tyler Hero, which doesn't really fit with the Trailblazers because they have a ton of guards.
Yeah, this Dame trade is I don't get why we talk about loyalty and then also talk about Dame getting whatever he wants. That's not being loyal. I struggle with saying,
Yeah.
hey, and this is that thing with Beal, and I love Beal, but he basically forced himself to the Suns. We could have gotten much better deals somewhere else, and mainly because of his agent and the connection to the GM, I think that went sour. And look, I love Beal, but you can't call what he did loyal. And you can be traded, and I would still consider you a loyal player, but demanding that you go to one team is not. For example, and this wasn't a trade, but Freddie Freeman for the Braves.
Yeah.
I still believe him as a loyal player. He would have gone back if it wasn't for the whole crazy. His agent basically wanted him to get more money, but if he heard that the Braves actually offered that, he would have re-signed with the Braves.
Yeah.
And you can sign with another team and be a loyal player still. But demanding a trade doesn't mean you're unloyal to me. Because, for example, another one that I think is pretty good, and this is also not necessarily uh, basketball, but Patrick Kane. The Blackhawks are horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So him demanding a trade, like, hey, I want to be traded, and if I could be traded to New York or some other team that's contending, that would work. I see that, and I'm like, wow, okay. He was with the team forever. He was a great player for those teams. Won a Hart Trophy, won an MVP, won 2 championships, all this other stuff, and the Blackhawks got a considerably good deal out of trading him because he is that good of a player. I know that it was on a short deal basically because he was only going to be there for half a season before he's a free agent. But I look at that and I don't consider him as not a loyal player. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And the thing that bugs me about Dame is he waited till they re-signed Jeremy Grant to that humongous contract, which they wouldn't have done if they knew Dame was going to ask out. They
Exactly.
wouldn't. Yeah. So he's helping out his friend Jeremy Grant, but I just see it, and the thing that was bugging me is like, I want to stay loyal, but he was to me this was kind of in the works all along. So yeah, it's tough when a loyal player. I think it's tough to be a loyal player now, just because like it's just not that time anymore. Like,
But I don't think a loyal player means that you stay with the team your entire career in this era.
But yeah, that makes sense. It's not. Yeah, I get what you're saying about Beal, Dame, and I like what you said about Kane and Freeman too. Like Freeman gave them every chance. It just didn't work out.
And also his agent kind of screwed him over. So
yeah, it was weird. But yeah,
but it doesn't necessarily mean you stay with the team your entire career. Oh, you're only loyal if you stay with the team for the entirety of your career. No, I think that's a little bit overblown. But
I would love it if Luka stayed, but I'm hoping, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, there's some of a respect thing. Tom Brady, I consider a loyal player. Did he go to the Bucks? Yeah, but the Patriots didn't want him anymore. You expect him to be just retire because he didn't want to? He wanted to play, and the Patriots didn't want him back. You expect a player to just retire because his team that he's been on his entire career isn't going to re-sign him? So I don't necessarily think staying on a team your entire career means you're not loyal.
Yeah. I'm paying attention, but I'm also cooking up a trade because here's a deal which I don't think is a terrible deal. Because like, and I do think the Trailblazers they're gonna get a lot, and the main thing is Tyler Hero doesn't work with them, so I think they need a third team, and that third team I think is the Nets because Tyler Hero's a scorer. He needs to be a better passer, but I do think he would fit well on the Nets.
And how would you see this working out?
So I think because I also think the Heat need a wing. So I have the Nets trading Dorian Finney-Smith to the Heat in exchange for Tyler Hero. And I'll also send a 2026 second rounder to the Nets. I don't know if this lines up contract-wise.
But what would Portland get? Because you're saying Portland would get more.
Yeah, so Portland's going to get 2 firsts, 2 unprotected firsts, and Nikola Jovic.
Is 2 firsts and Jovic enough for Dame though? I mean, but Beal, same thing. What did we get for Beal? We got Jordan Poole and no firsts. And I don't care about swaps.
Okay, maybe, and we'll do like a pick swap for 2030.
But the problem is that he have lost a lot of their picks in other trades.
Yeah, because they have their 2024, they have a 2026. I'm trading the 2027 and the 2029. But they also have the 2028 and 2030 first round.
Yeah, but you can't trade those because of the years. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my thing. And like they want a forward. they're not going to trade Caleb Martin. They have. That's why I like Nikola Jovic. But I'm also trying to think: is there something? Could the Nets? Could the Trailblazers send someone? Like maybe they send Nurkic, or what is his?
I think Nurkic would have to be sent for contract reasons.
To the Heat or the Nets?
To the Heat, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and that wouldn't be bad. For the
And
Heat.
Nurkic would be included. In which case, I do think somebody else from the Heat, maybe Haywood Highsmith or somebody else on that Heat team. Because I just don't see this working out in a way that Portland can actually rebound and become anywhere near a considerable advantage to before trading him.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's because they're not going to give up Bam. Robinson doesn't really make sense with the Nets or Trailblazers, in my opinion. I'm not sure. Maybe. But yeah, so that's where it gets tricky. But I like the idea because I don't know who Hero fits well with. I think he would fit well with the Nets.
Okay. Yeah, I could
like
definitely.
that fit.
I could definitely understand that.
But yeah, so that's just a trade I'm thinking could happen. But then I don't know if the contracts work. Maybe they do have to send Duncan Robinson somewhere.
Maybe.
Or they get rid of Kyle Lowry. But I like Kyle Lowry on them as a backup role. And he's on an expiring deal.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe no, that wouldn't make sense. If he gets sent to Portland and he's an expiring deal. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to predict trades, especially when it's constricted to only going to one team.
Yeah, or he gets traded to maybe the Spurs, which I kind of like. But yeah, so that's just one idea. I think I could see Hero getting sent to the Nets, and then them trading a wing like Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith to the Heat. And then the Heat sending one of their forwards like Jaime Jaquez or Nikola Jovic.
Yeah, I do think to get Dame, you're going to have to give up a lot.
Yeah, and I think they have the capital to get rid of it and maybe send some role players because they'll find some role player. Like we talked about, like that's why you do the trade for other guys.
I agree.
But yeah, and then I have no idea what's gonna happen with Harden. But yeah, that's all we got. I think Io is gonna be a huge steal. I'm wondering who else could be signed. Not really sure.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm hoping Tim Hardaway gets traded. But yeah, that's all we got. Let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.